Well, I've got to ask you about the Labor Party. You're talking about people pushing these race-baiting narratives. The Labor Party has been completely corrupted by this ideology and it's become almost unelectable. Tell us about what's happening there and their heartland deserting them.
Oh, well, Rita, we saw back in December 2019, Labour had its worst general election performance since 1935. In terms of seats. And its central task was to reconnect with its traditional pro-Brexit heartlands. It has failed to do that. It's failed spectacularly because ultimately there's still this culture of racial identity politics that many people in those traditional heartlands, they can't relate to it at all. They want to stick to the bread and butter of good jobs, high quality schools for their children, employment security. How do we cut waiting lists for the National Health Service? That's the bread and butter of what traditional Labour voters would be interested in. But Labour has this ridiculous combination of liberal cosmopolitanism and racial identity politics that they simply can't relate to. And the reality of the matter is, Rita, is that many traditional former Labour voters, they're fairly conservative when it comes to matters of immigration, crime, and religious extremism. While Labour increasingly looks very soft on those kind of issues. So you can see that there's a real disconnect. There's a real disconnection between the two.
Just before we go, Rakib, I just wanted to quickly ask you, some UK schools are now getting rid of their legacy of slavery and empire. So names like Nelson and Sir Walter Raleigh and Gladstone, they're being ditched. And guess who's coming in? Greta Thunberg and Malala, they're the new names. What do you make of this?
Oh, I think it's absolutely ridiculous what's going on. What's going on that front. I'd say that there's an opportunity to create a curriculum which is more representative of British post-war history. So we can even talk about the Second World War. We can have a more well-rounded analysis of the contribution of the British Indian Army, soldiers from the Caribbean. So we can really present a positive multiracial story behind the Allied victory and the defeat of Nazism. But that might be seen as too militaristic and aggressive for some people on the woke left.
Rakib Ehsan, thanks so much for coming on Outsiders, and keep up the great writing on Spiked, on The Spectator, UK Telegraph and elsewhere. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.